And you're watching Dad's Got Eats. Today's actually a cold day here in Long Island. It seems like the winter has come back. So I didn't get a chance to make chicken soup at all this winter. So I'm gonna start doing it now. This is my last chance. And what I'm doing is I seasoned some chicken. I started chopping, but I want to get the chicken going. So I like chicken legs because they're dark meat and it has a better flavor than just the white meat. I'll make another episode with just white meat, the traditional way, but to me this is what I like. So I'm putting in some chicken. Start there. We're gonna brown the chicken up a little bit. Once that's brown, then I start building my soup. And as you notice, I started chopping up some celery, some onions, some carrots. I still have some other meats that I'm putting into this. I'm going to put some smoked ham and another meat of my favorite, which is called salchichon. It's like a Spanish sausage, very porky, a little bit of fat in it. It's delicious. But you'll see it as we move along through the building of our soup. And we are browning our chicken, as you can see. There's no secret to browning. It's just a hot pan and searing the meat, so this way it kind of traps the flavors inside. And that's what I'm talking about. Trap the flavors inside. And once that's done in another couple of seconds, we're going to continue building. Where some people would use chicken broth or fresh water to put into the stock pot or into the pot that you're ready to use for soup, I use the same bowl that I use to season the chicken simply because there's flavor in the bowl, as you can see. Bring this up to about there and bring this up to a boil. While that's doing its thing, I will continue chopping. So right now I'm at the celery stage and my carrots are already chopped up. I'm gonna put some potatoes in this soup because I like a nice hearty soup. And there's one celery, then I'm gonna do more celeries, of course. And instead of just chopping this finely, I like chunks of onion in my soup. So basically, a rough chop of onions. You can never go wrong with onions. The more onions for me, the better. As I mentioned earlier, we're also adding this sausage called salchichon. It's actually one of the Goya products. Other brands make it. We're adding some chicken bouillon and some some sazon or goya sazon seasoning to our soup. But right now, I just want to take our sausage and cut this down the middle so that I can dice it up to a manageable piece. And there's what it looks like inside. And I'm gonna cut this down the middle and chop it up a little more so everybody gets a little bit. And here's our ham. It's actually our spiral ham or our smoked ham that I save in the freezer because on occasions like today, I want some ham in my soup. So before I chop up the sausage or the salchichon, you need to take out the outer casing. This is not edible. And you don't want to boil it simply because it just doesn't break down. It's basically like paper if you try to chew it up. So once that's peeled off, you cut that into a half. And you cut that into pieces where it actually fits on a spoon. The flavor in this is amazing. I can have soup just based on that alone. Chop this up, chop up the ham, and next thing you know, we're seasoning. Okay, so you're watching Dad's Got Eats. Don't forget to follow, bookmark, send in those suggestions. This is something called sofrito. Unfortunately, there's very little left, but I'm not gonna let it go to waste. I'm trying to maximize the flavor going into this pot. So what I'm actually doing is breaking down what's in the cup, so that sofrito. Oh, by the way, sofrito you can buy in the store, but we make our own at home. And basically, what it is vegetables, from cilantro to parsley to peppers, green peppers, red peppers, everything you can think of that's a vegetable that's delicious and adds flavor is in this pot, or going into the sofrito, or has been in the sofrito. The next step is to start continuous seasoning. I'm putting in some sazon, a little bit of chicken powder bouillon. Put that in there, make that happy. We're gonna add some parsley. And we need this chicken to continue breaking down. I'm gonna put in some black pepper. This is my winter favorite soup. I'm gonna add some garlic granulated powder. Adding some garlic. We're gonna add a little bit of oregano. Oregano wakes up the flavors, believe it or not. You don't need a lot. The next step is we're gonna add our cilantro. Cilantro over here. There's our cilantro. You can never go wrong with too much cilantro. It's actually good for you. No, it's clean. Sorry about that. Then we're going to put our ham. The stuff that takes the longest to break down and cook is the ham, as you can see, and our salchichon. This is actually edible the way it is right now. So we're gonna add you next. We leave the potatoes for last because the potatoes are very delicate, and so are the carrots. So right now the next step is to put our salchichon, our ham. We're gonna put in our onions and celery. That's next. It's coming in right now. This is loaded with vegetables, by the way. We're gonna leave our carrots for last because we don't want them breaking down quickly. So if you notice, I chopped up some onions, rough chopped some onions. Our cilantro is in there. Our celery is in there. And the next step is let it get happy. Let it get happy. Ooh, this is getting thick too. I'm gonna have to add some more liquid in there. And of course, we're gonna use our sofrito bucket because that has flavor. When you pour in water from the sink, don't use the hot water. I know it's faster and easier, and you think you're doing something better, but to me, I've learned from a long time ago, the hot water tank is not the cleanest. Your fresh water is always going to be exactly what it sounds like, fresh water. And now we just need this to break down. You're watching Dad's Got Eats. Don't forget to bookmark, follow, send in those suggestions, and yes, share with your friends. And this soup is coming along. And our soup is doing its thing. It's getting happy. When you see the chicken falling off the bone, pretty much, that means our chicken is almost done, or is done. So my next step is to add my carrots, chop up. And then the last step would be to add our potatoes, but that would be the last 15 minutes of the soup cooking. But we are almost done, ready to plate up in another few minutes. Look at this, nothing but veggies and ham, some salchichon. The flavors in here are incredible. Look at that gravy, it's just awesome. You're watching Dad's Got Eats. And you're watching Dad Got Eats. So our last step in our building our soup is to add our potatoes that are kind of running away from me. And let the potatoes cook down. Once that happens, that magic, you didn't even see my hand. Once the potatoes are done, the soup is done. So I figure another 15-20 minutes and we are plating up. And we are at the final stage of our hearty winter in the spring soup. I cut up some leftover bread from one of my other episodes because you do want to eat this with a nice hearty bread. It's delicious. So the next step is to plate up our soup, which is ready to go. As you can see, it has a little bit of everything you can think of, from potatoes to salchichon to chicken. It's so good, I can't even breathe. The potato has some celery, it has ham, and all we gotta do is get a spoon and start digging in. You're watching Dad Guy Eats. I cut up some bread already. I have a spoon. I'm actually using my big spoon because it's so good. We're adding a little hot sauce to it because you gotta have a little bit of hot sauce, of course. And that's our episode of our winter soup in spring with our cheddar cheese bread that we made in one of the other episodes. And you're watching Dad Guy Eats. Thank you, and don't forget to follow, bookmark, suggest, and send them in, and share with your friends.